I'm in charge of getting the policies together to pass each school year. So we have a board policy committee that meets, made up of 3 board members and some staff members, and they meet monthly, and they go through all those board policies that are listed on the website, and they make updates to them, changes, etc. And then during the legislative session, which is mid-January to mid-April, which is right now a very busy time, I follow all the bills that are being passed in Annapolis and advocate on the school system's behalf on things that interest us. But why we're here today, I want to, I don't know actually how to use the computer, so we'll skip that for a second. But on the website, once the, Bill, can you just pull the computer up for a second? Just our website. Okay. So on our website, for those of you who don't know, I just want to show you where all the policies are. Go to your playlist. And for those of you who don't know, they're all found right here. Okay, so you could click on any of these. And some of the ones that you probably are most interested in are personnel, so just leave that up there for now. And then you can click on any of them and find them. So I just think it's important for you to know where it is. But I wanted to just go over some that have been of interest in the last year that we've passed. So one of them is employee complaints. Employee complaints are for allegations that the school system has done something wrong. So a lot of times, you as a front line of defense may get an employee saying one thing or another. You can look at this policy and direct them as to where to go if they have a complaint. This would be non-grievances, things that are outside of the negotiated agreement. So for our business managers, if there's something that's really not addressed in the negotiated agreement, you can ask employees to go to the employee complaint process. If you are a secretary and a custodian comes to you and has a complaint about something, this is where you can direct them. The process hasn't really changed, it's been around for a while, but one thing that has been improved is one level has been taken out. So some of the feedback that we receive from employees like you and our unions is sometimes resolution takes too long when employees do have complaints. There was a level taken out. And I want to back up 1 second, I talk kind of quickly sometimes. Policies can be really boring, but I'm looking around and knowing what you guys have to do. I know a lot of you are like me, very type A. Let me tell you what's great about policies, because I wanted to tell you this. It's where all the rules are, right? So you don't know where something is, this is where you go, right? Your principal says, I need to write a counseling letter for this employee because they inappropriately took annual leave or whatever. The expectations are written in there, and you can literally cut and paste from the policy, and you're not going to have a problem. So that's how policies are useful, and I sort of skipped over that in the beginning, but I wanted to go back to that. Non-discrimination and anti-harassment. We have a group of protected classes under that policy, and one of them, there were 2 that were added this year, genetic information and gender identity. So if perchance you have a new applicant, and you have to understand this applies to applicants and employees. So if a new applicant was coming to the school, maybe the principal was interviewing the teacher or something, and you see something noticeable about them, or you think that you know something about their genetic information, you certainly can't ask about those things. And so we're just recognizing that. I think we all know that, but we're just recognizing that in that policy. The big one that I think will be of most interest to this group is our employee leave policies. So we actually undertook combining a lot of policies into one comprehensive employee leave policy. So I really, if you can see these related entries at the top, all of these, that is what it used to be. So it was very confusing. We got a lot of feedback that where do I go? They were very outdated. Some of them were 70s from 1970, one of them from 1990. They were all updated within the last year. And here's a comprehensive list of every possible type of leave that an employee could take. And I think this is helpful because we used to have leaves that were on the timesheet but weren't reflected in regulation. Now they all should be in there. If you find one that's not, call me, because then we missed something. We got to fix it, and we will fix it. There's some new ones on here that you may have not seen before. Administrative leave. We all know that we have times where employees are put on administrative leave by someone in central office. We didn't really have anything to back that up before. We now have a regulation that speaks to that. So that's a situation where either investigations has put them on administrative leave for some reason. They might not have the medical clearance to come back yet, so they've been put on administrative leave for some reason. So there is something to back that up. If the employee asks, where is that, under what authority are you doing that, et cetera, that regulation is there. And then the other one is, that was new, is meeting leave. So I know a lot of times, like today, if you were going to be out of your office, you could take meeting leave. It's always been on the timesheet, hasn't really had a regulation to back it up. So this is the policy, but then all of the regulations are right under there. So if you see GCRAA, GCRAB, GCRAC, et cetera, you get the idea. They're all there, and they're spelled out very clearly for you. For your Unit 3 and Unit 4 employees, your negotiated agreement is still going to be sort of your Bible as far as that's concerned. That's going to be your go-to because most of their rights are spelled out in there. But for your Unit 5, your Unit 6, and any issues that are not addressed in the negotiated agreement, you can look at these and they will definitely help you out. There's another one, authorized leave without pay. And I know that this has been a question off and on. Someone just gets hired, for whatever reason they have to go out, but they don't have enough leave. There is now a process for that, and that policy or that regulation specifically speaks to that. And there is a form. I don't know if anyone's had to use it yet, but it's the authorization for exception for use of employee leave. So if there were a situation like that, there's a process to address that. Okay. Any questions so far? No? Okay. We'll keep going. GCRA is another policy that was updated. That is our drug, alcohol, and tobacco-free work environments. This speaks to e-cigarettes and vapor pens. So we always know that we can't drink, we can't smoke, we can't do drugs on school property, right? We can't come to work inhibited by any of those things. But we have had some issues with different employees with using e-cigarettes and vapor pens. So whether or not the e-cig has tobacco in it or not, our regulation now does say you cannot use it. I'm sorry? Can't do that either, absolutely, right. So, if there were a question, if, you had to do a counseling letter for an employee on that, or you needed to help your principal with that, the regulation speaks right to it. You just quote it right out of the regulation. Easy. And a really easy way to find things, because this is a little intimidating when you look at all these policies, there's a search feature up here. So you can always search a term, and it'll come up, it will help you find what you need in the policy. Another policy that was updated, which was a huge undertaking, and I know someone later, I think, Dan, you're speaking about community use. Dan will be speaking about it later, but the actual policy was changed for community use of facilities. That was updated, and most of the information is really now in the facilities use manual. We tried to, because of the changing nature of that, take a lot out of the policy and regulation and put it in the manual. So most of what you'll need is in the manual. And then the other one I wanted to just mention to you is reasonable accommodations. I'm sure you've noticed, if not, certainly in central office, we've noticed more and more employees with different disabilities that need to be accommodated in some way. And we've had a process for several years now, but this is now finally into a regulation. And if there's any that I would say that it's worth looking at or understanding, I think it would just, it really spells out the process. The other thing it does is sometimes when there's questions even from other employees, I think that people face this a lot where there's one employee that might be on some sort of disability leave or have some sort of accommodation and have had it for a while, and people know that, but they don't understand why one person can be treated differently. I think it's important for people to understand the rights that individuals have under the ADA, and this regulation really spells out the process. And even for you as someone in the school wondering when this person might come back or whatever, this will provide you with some guidance as to what, when they might come back, when they might not come back. So those were the main ones I wanted to cover. And then I don't want to bore you too much with the policy process, but what I do ask, and I'm going to walk away with, and I'm probably going to be way under my time so you guys can get back on track, is if you have input about things in your school that need to change and you go to the policy and the policy's outdated, or you have some problems, one, I'll take the input today, or two, you can contact me at any time. I'm really, like I said, I want to hear from the schools. What do you need? What will make your job easier? If you look at some of these leave policy regulations and you think that there's some issues, let me know. Regulations are easier to change than policies. Policies go through a very extensive process. But we always want your input, and any, as a part of that, any policies that we're currently looking at for changes are posted for public comment. So if you, these are the policies that are currently, that went to the board yesterday for first reading, and they will be up there, and then you can always submit policy comments to aacps.org if you don't want to contact me directly, or you could always, contact me directly. But if there's issues in the school, you think that things need to change, you guys are on the front lines, let me know what you need. Are there any questions? I'm actually glad you brought that up. So anytime that we have a policy that would impact the unions in some way, we typically try to send that to them and say, are you okay with this? Do you have any input? Like when we did the leave ones, we sent that out to everyone. We asked for their input. I will tell you, in any policy also, this should reassure you that has implications for the negotiated agreement. We always include language that says, if there's anything in this language that is inconsistent with what the negotiated agreement says, the negotiated agreement rules see that. That's a legal binding contract document, and we respect that. So most of what you'll find in policy either defers to that or repeats the same language. And I think it's a good point. Like if something different was negotiated, it is my responsibility to be aware of that by being in communication with employee relations to then make those changes. Yeah, good question.